door, you gotta go all the way up before it comes down. I don't know if you don't need to.
The next item on the agenda is pending business. We have two subcommittees that are, I believe, prepared to report back. I would recognize Representative Campbell, who chairs the subcommittee report on petitions.
Thank you. I'd like to circulate subcommittee's recommendations, and I'll briefly give you an overview of what we discussed in our subcommittee. Subcommittee consisted of Representative Marzullo, Hess, Foster, and myself. We met twice and fleshed out some of the issues and problems with petitions and some of the ambiguities in the rules. Because we were concerned about petitions becoming a vehicle for a private party, two private parties in dispute could, under a member of the House's petition, bring it in. It could be slanderous. It could be, we'd have no control over what content would be in that petition, and it could become very problematic. Under the guise of legislative immunity, you could have people slandering one another. We didn't want that to happen. No one wanted that to happen. We talked about the Sherburne v. Merrill case, Merrill v. Sherburne, and how that case back in 1818 basically states that if something has been adjudicated by the judicial branch, it can't be appealed, overturned, or otherwise dealt with by the legislative branch. And we toyed with the idea that, well, maybe if that's true, some of these petitions could be thrown out, but to do that, we'd have to have a screening process. Now, who would screen it? The speaker? No, that would be too political, we thought, whoever was in charge. Then we said, well, the Rules Committee, really deals with process, not with substantive issues. That didn't make much sense. So basically, we did more research and looked at how have petitions been used, both historically in the United States, in the 50 states, and more specifically in New Hampshire. And pretty much they've always been used as non-binding communications. Some in the past were used more as almost glorified letters. If a town was complaining about a piece of legislation, would come as a petition and then go to the chairs, but then not acted on, just communication to the legislature. Almost always they've been brought into the clerk's office and read. That's also the pattern across the United States. We didn't go to the background of all those across the United States and the other states because their constitutional states may differ. But what we decided to do as a subcommittee, and what we're recommending to the Rules Committee today, is, and I'll go through these three rule changes here, with the added caveats that we would say that what we pass here today should be interim for these 2 years, because this kind of sprung upon us. We didn't have enough time really to deal with this completely, although we think we kind of vetted out the major issues. So we would like to request of the Rules Committee and put on the record that this is an interim measure, and that this is something that is non-precedential in the sense that this won't be used as precedent, and in the future, other legislatures in the future, other general courts can look at this and change it without using this as necessarily a precedent. The changes that we're doing, we try to minimize the amount of changes we made in the rules. And the first one is amend rule number 4, which basically we all agreed in the committee that petitions involving elections and qualification of members should be treated differently, because those do in fact go to committees, and those do in fact need to go through the whole process. So we call that out in this rule change, adding the end. First off, we took petitions out above, just for clarification to make it consistent, and down below saying the speaker should refer a petition to a committee only petition involves the election or qualifications of a member to serve in the House. So that's carving out that exception. Second one was to amend Rule 18 to make it clear that petitions are presented and the subject matter is read in summary. So in the second line is a change from person to member, just to be clear that members actually bring in petitions. And then in the second sentence, the speaker shall state the substance of the petition. It says in concise form above, and it says substance of petition below. It's not the intention to have this whole thing read on the floor of the House, but it is to the speaker or the speaker ordering the clerk to do so can read a summary of the petition. And then this is kind of the crux of what we're recommending, I guess. This next sentence is the petition shall be entered in the journal by title only, and the full petition shall be placed on file with the clerk. That way, no one's screening these. Whatever the OLS will draft them, whatever the content of them is going to be the content of them, but they're going to be basically identified by titles. You know, briefly explain what that involves, like much like we do with a bill saying what's in reference to, and then it's going to be placed on permanent file with the clerk and eventually archived, you know, down the road. The last thing we recommended is amending Rule 64, which is deadlines, and having petitions, since they are drafted by OLS, and to be treated the same as bills, that the last day to sign off on House LSRs, including for requests for petitions other than petitions involving elections or qualifications of a member to serve in the House, shall be whatever date. And the reason we carve out the petitions again is because you could have special elections in the middle of a session that could be passing filing deadlines, and in that case you would need to have that petition accepted. So that's basically what we recommend. The last thing we wanted to recommend to the Rules Committee under our subcommittee, which was a 3-0 vote today, is that the 5 pending petitions that have been drafted by OLS, which the clerk has, which came out recently, that those be allowed to come in, obviously, when we pass these rules, that they come in under these rules for this session. That's the recommendations of the subcommittee. I know there may be others that I want to testify today. And certainly the members of the subcommittee are welcome to add anything I forgot.
Is there anybody that wishes to testify on the petitions?
I have. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my recollection that during the subcommittee meeting that I was at today, that the petitions were to be treated as communications, and that communications are typically read by the clerk. And so, rather than referring to it as being read by the speaker, I think we discussed in committee that it would be read by the clerk. Or you discussed in committee, I am sure.
Yeah, we did say that, I guess. I guess it was thought, because this appears elsewhere in the rules, where to ask the speaker shall state, the speaker can ask the clerk to read on behalf of the speaker, isn't that?
Well,
is that
how
true?
are the other?
Is that true? Clerk?
The speaker can always ask.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why we didn't change it for that reason. I think we discussed changing it, but we just figured the speaker would order the clerk to read the petition. We did say in familiar language that yeah, the clerk will read it. Yes, we did.
And typically what happens, like for resolutions or something that the clerk reads, the speaker would say the House will attend to a communication, or the House will attend to a resolution, and the clerk reads.
But in the rules governing those communications, it says the speaker shall read and then you delegate.
In many cases, I think that's true.
I was just going to say, in House rules, it does not specify at all that the speaker delegates.
Okay.
Or that even that the speaker would read communications or resolutions. I mean, to my knowledge, unless the clerk